Do you hear what that is?
That is, yeah, I hear it. It's scary as fuck. I'm out of here.
Right? I think that means that it's time, and today is officially Silent Hill Day at Dark Night of the Podcast. And Silent Hill Day means that Troy and I will be serving up to our fans a hearty helping of all things Silent Hill. Right, Troy?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I know you're excited. At least the movie adaptation of Silent Hill. The video game is like its own entity, but the movie, we're going to be getting in deep with it.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got crumbling, smoke-infested hellscapes.
Burning children.
Burning demon ash babies. We've got the dude in the pyramid-themed bondage ensemble wielding a massive butter knife that I secretly find super sexy, but I don't want to delve into that because it makes me scared. And then we've got those busty nurses. Those busty nurses who can't see anything, but they sure can sensually moan. And so to help us keep our facts straight and our sexual preferences gay, we have an adorable horror guru and fellow podcast personality from Buddy's House of Horrors. We have Buddy Candela. Hi, Buddy.
Hey, how's it going? Great to be here. Happy to see you guys. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you too. Thank you. Thank you for joining us on this journey of Silent Hill.
Yes, thank you. And thank you for specifically picking this movie. And
yes.
Like right off the bat, it's so not what we're used to that I'm curious. I want to know, like, what made you pick, out of all the films, what made you pick Silent Hill?
So to back up a little bit on this. So I think originally we had talked about doing this back in June or something like that. And I was basically like I'm open to review whatever, we can watch anything. And you had told me, Roger, you were like, we typically do films with the guests that they have never seen before. And for you, buddy, it might be a little bit difficult. So I was like, you know what, just send me a list of a bunch of films and I will pick from your list. Because in general, like, it stresses me out, like, picking out films for people. Because I'm like, oh my god, what if this isn't the vibe? And, like, all this kind of things. But luckily with this, we all had to watch it separately. It's not like I'm picking for people in the room. But you had sent me this list of all these films. And one of the films really stuck out to me that I had not seen. And that was the 2006 version of Silent Hill. And the main reasons I picked this are threefold, I guess. One, I've never seen it before, and I should have seen it, being a horror fan. Number two, I have a video coming out in a few weeks when I start my horror marathon in October, when I'm putting out all kinds of podcasts about the top 10 horror games of all time. So I thought that would tie in very well with this review. And three, me and one of my friends have actually been playing through the original Silent Hill over on Twitch. So I was like, you know what? The film Silent Hill, never seen it, and this is the perfect opportunity to watch it. And I know Troy had never seen it either. So this was a first for the both of us.
Yeah.
Had you seen it, Roger?
Yes.
Had you seen it?
Actually.
Okay.
So first of all, I love that because, like, specifically, I love that you're exposing yourself to not only the movie but the games. Like, Troy, you're watching this for a first-time viewer of the film, but I think going into this film having some knowledge of the games is kind of vital to appreciate exactly how well they did with this movie as a movie adaptation of a video game. Because as a movie, it doesn't always gel, but if you know the history of the games, it's, I think, all the more impressive.
Yeah, and I do not know the history of the game. I've never played the game. So that was sort of the reason I kind of always avoided this movie, because it was a video game adaptation. And so many video game adaptations have been extremely disappointing as films and as video game adaptations. So I was like, when it came out, I was like, I'm not in any big rush to go see this. It was 2006?
Yeah, it was 2006.
So there was other things that are out around that time. That was kind of the time of like the French extreme, horror films that were coming out that I was really into. So I just avoided this one, but I had always heard like really good things about it. And, I've definitely noticed or am familiar with a lot of the imagery from the film. So I kind of had a small little knowledge of it, but I'd never watched it until a couple nights ago to prepare for this.
Now, Buddy, had you played the game prior to this, this experience you just had doing it on Twitch? Did you grow up with the game? You played it before this, or was that your first exposure to the game as well?
So I had not. So this is my first exposure to the world of Silent Hill. Although I was quite a gamer as a child, I was always like a Nintendo kid. So when it came to the horror games, except for the occasional Resident Evil, there was pretty slim pickings over on Nintendo. So that's partially why me and one of my co-hosts for my podcast, Buddy's House of Horror, Midnight Miles, as he's affectionately known on the show, he's a big horror gamer. So basically, I gave him free reign to introduce me to his top 10 horror games. And so, yeah, so right now, I'm so slowly working my way through the Silent Hills, Resident Evil, stuff like that. All these games on PlayStation that I didn't get to experience as a kid. And going back to Silent Hill just briefly, like, as far as like playing like the beginning portions of the game and watching the film, it's almost identical. There's very few things in the beginning except they gender swap the lead. In the game, you're a guy named Harry. In this film, Sean Bean kind of takes on that role, but he's not very important to the overall story, which I'm sure we'll get into. Um, but yeah, I mean, all the music from the game is the same music that you see in the film. But probably like the biggest difference between the game and the film is Pyramid Head is not until the second game. The first game doesn't have anything to do with him at all. So the film kind of blends together like the first like two games, and then there's references to other things in the series like throughout. But for the most part, it's mainly the first game with a few changes.
Yeah, and I think one thing to acknowledge with this transition from game to film is this is a movie that it definitely made some artistic decisions, changes to the formula, but overall, it very much stayed true to the tone of the game. And I think the reason it, at least one of the most successful elements of this film is the overall environment and, again, the tone that it sets. Especially as it starts to transition into this like hellscape as we learn, as we progress further, and we'll get into it. But really, this movie just does a great job of capturing the energy and the vibe of the games. Even in some of the cinematography, it feels like directly taken from the games. So I'm really impressed with that, and I'm impressed how, even though some elements of the movie maybe don't hold up overall, the overall visual elements of the film, I think, do greatly. And I was really happy in revisiting this movie now, 2021, and seeing how much this movie has aged well, in my opinion. Though some of the CGI may be iffy, the overall look of this film and the tone it sets, it hits it. It hits the nail on the head, at least in my opinion. And I also feel this is a film that requires repeat viewings in order to fully understand the story. Troy, as difficult as that may sound, because while it's a long movie and it takes forever to land the fucking plane, there is a lot of meat on the bone with this one. There's a lot to the story, and as you kind of revisit it and understand who the characters are and how they play into the story and what it all means, there's a lot to unpack, and unpack it we will, and we're going to do it with Buddy's help today. So Buddy, thank you for being here. Before we delve into the actual storyline of the film, tell us a little bit, just tell us about your podcast, tell us about Buddy's House of Horrors, and tell us about these endeavors you've got right now with, I know you have a second podcast, correct?
I do. So I guess I'll just go ahead and give you the whole spiel. You might have to try to rein me in a little bit. So for those of you who don't know, my name is Buddy Candela. I am a filmmaker based out of Cleveland, Ohio, YouTuber, podcaster. My main project that I'm working on right now is Buddy's House of Horror, which is a podcast. It's a YouTube show. I have guests come on, interviews, stuff like that. Not all the episodes are podcasts, although it's mainly podcasts. There's also some video content as well. Like I do a series called 15 Phenomenal Facts where I'll break down a horror franchise or a specific film. Or last year I did one just on Halloween, like the holiday, like 15 facts of how Halloween came to be. I've done rankings on the channel. Like last year we ranked all of the Halloween films. This year we're going to be ranking all of the Nightmare on Elm Street films. And a lot of cool stuff. I mean, I try to keep the show open. I'm open to suggestions. I've done like commentaries of public domain films before. I'm actually working on a playlist on my YouTube channel right now that's just called The Best of Buddy's House of Horror, because at this point I'm at over like 100 episodes, I think, of everything that I've done. So I'm trying to like curate some of my personal favorite things that I've done into a playlist. Like the top 10 horror sequels was a great one that I did. And then also I do another podcast called Two Nerds a Podcast. We might be going through a little bit of a rebrand, so when this comes out, it might be known as Three Nerds a Podcast. We might be bringing on a third person with us. But that's a show we do year round. We're in our season break right now because of the rebrand. We're going to get like a new theme song and stuff like that. But it's a lot of fun. I just love talking to people, sharing the love of horror, documenting the human experience. I love having guests on my show. I've had some amazing guests on my show, like you, Roger, among others. Still waiting for Troy to come on. We'll have to arrange that someday. But yeah, that's pretty much everything that I'm doing currently. Of course, I directed a feature film in the past. It was a comedy film called Unlucky, but it has some horror elements in it as well. And I gave Roger some links and stuff if people are interested in checking out all my stuff. I'm sure he'll put it in the description and all that good stuff. So,
Oh, for sure. We're gonna keep promoting you all through the week. It's Buddy Candela week. Dark Night of the Podcast. And yeah, we'll definitely be sharing more information. And I really want to encourage our listeners to check out his podcast and check out his material because a lot of things. First of all, he covers great material and does it well. I think you handle your dialogues and your discussion really well. It's very clean. You've obviously been doing this for a while, so it just makes for a great show. But also, I really love your clip art. I think it's cute as all hell, and you're adorable. As a gay man, I'm sure you can understand where we're coming from. So, to all of our gays, I highly encourage you check them out. But right now, let's get down to business to defeat the Huns and focus on the movie of the week, which is
Before we do this, Roger, I just have a quick something to say. Yes, because all of our begging and pleading at the end of every episode for our listeners to go in and give us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. We've been doing it since the show started. We got one.
Oh my God.
One, Roger. We
Literally
got one. We got one new
just
one.
Weeping.
A year of us begging. And so we want to thank Don Anelli for giving us that 5-star review on Apple Podcasts.
Oh my God, yes.
He's a great supporter of the show. So guys, if you want to hear your name,
if you want,
get off your lazy asses and click the little 5-star and write a few words. It's that simple. It's that simple.
Lucky him that he gets to hear his name on our fancy podcast. I'm sure he's thrilled. But seriously though, not only is he a huge supporter of us, he's a huge supporter of all
of everybody.
Horror themed podcasts.
Yeah, he really is.
I think he deserves an extra shout out. Every week, he makes a digest of the latest updates from all the podcasts that he listens to. He makes sure to get them out there. I know we've procured followers through him and his amazing promotion. So, Don, thank you so much for your support. Also, another reason I want to raise Buddy up really quick is, Buddy, you have, on multiple occasions, I've acknowledged you really prove yourself to be an ally of the queer community. And first and foremost, we are an LGBTQ plus themed podcast. And that covers horror movies. So I want to thank you also for that, even down to the simple details of including your pronouns and your bio and everything. I can tell you get it. I think this is going to be a good conversation, just a fun time to chat with you. And I really want our listeners, especially our queer listeners, to show you some love and support as you do to us. So I just want to throw that out there.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Let's get down. Yeah, for sure. We appreciate you. But yeah, Silent Hill. You guys ready?
Ready as ever.
Set off the alarms, Troy.
As it'll ever be.
Cue alarm sound effect. Silent Hill. So as we stated, it was a 2006 film inspired by the video game franchise Silent Hill. That was directed by Christopher Gans, who is a French filmmaker. He did the 2014 Beauty and the Beast, which was a mindfuck in all of itself, and had a shit ton of CGI. He also did a segment from Necronomicon, the Book of the Dead, back in like the 90s. But overall, he doesn't have a ton of credits. A lot of them are very obscure, and a lot of them are very artsy. But it lends to this film. His style lends to this film, in my opinion.
It's one that he championed to do.
Yeah.
I was doing some research on this. I guess he was like funding his own like mock scenes to send to the studios and stuff, he was a super fan of the games. Similar to the director of the first Resident Evil film, who was like really like gung-ho about the games, trying to get these films made. It was a similar situation with Silent Hill, and I do think that comes through in the film. Like this, if anything, the film See, I'm already getting them confused. The film feels like Silent Hill. Like, regardless if you like the film, dislike the film, it is Silent Hill. Like, there's no, like, debating, like, oh, like, they completely missed the mark with this adaptation. Like, it doesn't look, feel anything like the games. It is Silent Hill.
Yeah, definitely. I think his style perfectly lends itself to the world that is Silent Hill, and this is a world that, in a lot of rights, I mean, I don't love a CGI riddled film normally, but I can't imagine this world existing without it. And because of his like kind of elaborate, over the top style, it really seamlessly kind of blends reality and this fantasy world together. Because when they're in the real world in this adaptation, when they're in the real world, it is very much the world we live in today. When they enter this alternate reality, there are multiple alternate universes of Silent Hill, they become progressively more and more CGI inspired. And because of like the separation from reality to this like hellscape, it works for me. And it's rare I would say that. But in regards to the cast, we've got like kind of an all-star cast. I normally wouldn't anticipate a video game inspired film grabbing such a large amount of talent, such talented people. But we have some really like superb performers here, and a lot of them are kind of like giving us their A game, which again I would not anticipate from a video game movie. Starring Radha Mitchell, whom I love, I like absolutely love. She's one of my favorites. She's my preferred Naomi Watts in a way. But she's got credits like Pitch Black, the alligator film Rogue, the Crazies remake, which I think is one of the best remakes of all time. So she really like delivers an outstanding performance as the female lead Rose, who's basically on this mission to find her daughter, and her maternal instincts just come through so strong in this character.
Yeah, and you get Laurie Holden, who plays Sybil from she's from The Walking Dead. That's obviously, I think, where most people are going to recognize her from. Andrea, was she Andrea in The Walking Dead?
Yeah. She's also in The Mist, though. And, like,
The Mist.
That
She was
is
in
a
The
movie
Mist.
that
Yes.
horror movie fans hold close
Yes.
to their heart. She's also in that series The Americans, which I secretly love. We also, of course, we mentioned before, Sean Bean has a presence in this movie. Sometimes I question why, but he is consistently throughout this film.
We're gonna get that was my big thing. Yeah, it's like him and Kim Coates, who I love from Sons of Anarchy, who it took me a while to recognize. I'm like, oh my god, that's the dude from Sons of Anarchy. Both of them, both the males in this film, like literally have nothing to do. It's a very female-driven film.
It was tacked on last minute.
Yeah,
Because I guess that in the first draft of the script or whatever, there were no male characters except the father character was at the very beginning and the very end, and the studio was like, what's going on? We need like some sort of storyline here. So I feel like it was very, very last minute, and it could have been almost entirely cut from the film, and that's where a lot of your runtime is coming from.
that's what I was thinking. Every one of their scenes could have easily been cut, and it would not have affected the film at all. At all. I mean, when your film is pushing 2 hours, you need to really look at what is in there that's just filler. And I feel like every scene with the father in it was filler. And there were some long scenes with him in it. There was the scene with him and the cop on the bridge talking about the wife for God knows how long that went on. So I feel like that stuff could have been cut to help the runtime a little bit, but I mean, it is what it is. It's in there.
I was gonna say it's hard because you got Sean Bean doing it, and obviously you don't want to cut him. Like if you just had some random guy cast as the father, like you could have chopped this down like a half hour. But if you like, I mean, at the time, because I'm not Lord of the Rings, all of them had come out at that point, right? So he was probably the biggest name attached to it at the time, I'm sure. So
Yeah. Well, and like another thing about his character, that it's unfortunate that they like gave him the task of exposition because he's automatically very boring, but he does bestow upon the audience so much like additional knowledge. There's not like ever a scene where it's like they don't like spew a little fact about the background of Silent Hill or give you information on Sharon, his daughter, and like where she came from. It's just boring. It's just compared to Rose's story arc, which is just a constant onslaught of fear and horrifying imagery. He's unfortunately like the straight man in this, and it really does lend itself to like being just blasé. he doesn't get to do anything fun. And that does suck for Sean Bean. There's a few other actors in this who I also want to mention just because it really is like a crazy stacked cast. We've got Jadelle Ferland, who plays the character of Sharon, as well as like the demonic form of Alyssa. And she is a child actress at this time, but like you look back and you forget just how many movies she was in, like at this time frame, because she was also in Twilight Eclipse. Go fuck me. I can't stand Twilight, but she's in it. She's in The Tall Man.
That is the best out of the Twilight films, though. The Eclipse is the best.
Agreed. She was young Carrie in the 2002 made-for-TV movie Carrie. She's in the movie They. She's Patient Bruckner in Cabin in the Woods. Like, this kid did so much in like the 2000s, and you kind of forget just how present she was in the genre. So props to her. And Deborah Kara Unger, who was in Crash, White Noise, and 13, and Alice Krieg, who was in Gretel and Hansel as that like fucking terrifying witch that's vomiting up braids. Like, she's great. So you've just got like this amazing cast that like has roots in the genre. Like, they know how to deliver a horror movie performance. And like, one area this movie does not suffer, aside from maybe a few weird dubbing issues, I'll be honest, is acting. We get solid performances across the board.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, like, launching right off into the storyline, because we're already deep into Silent Hill, and, like, we have not even started. But, we really, like, open this movie on a strong note, because, A, we get a good taste of the score, which is very present all throughout the course of this movie, and is honestly, I would say, one of the standout elements of this film. The score and, like, that mandolin music, especially when they focus on that sound from the game, it really like just sets the tone right off the bat. This is Silent Hill. We're sticking kind of right to the book with this, or right to the game with this. We're really like staying true to the material. So you get a taste of that score before it launches into like this really intense opening with Rose basically screaming for her daughter Sharon. In the middle of this rainstorm, she's running barefoot through the woods looking for her daughter.
Yeah, the cinematography is pretty striking right off the bat. That's the first thing that really caught my attention. A lot of times I don't really pay attention to the score unless it's like heavily in your face, so I really didn't notice that. I noticed the cinematography and like the set design was absolutely stunning in this opening scene, and that remains consistent through the film. I mean, if this film has anything going for it, in my opinion, it's the set design of basically everything, not just the town of Silent Hill in the different dimensions, but everything throughout the film looks consistently great. It's very eye-catching, very interesting to look at. So right away you get this scene with the mother running through the woods, and it's not just like it's not just like some generic woods that you would see like in Friday the 13th. There's interesting things to look at. There's train tracks. There's a bridge that's a train track bridge that's overlooking a giant waterfall, where the little girl is standing right on the edge of this cliff overlooking the waterfall, getting ready to, what we think is she's going to jump into it because she's like in this trance. So everything in this film is very heightened and very elaborate. And it's right from the opening scene. I was drawn in. I was drawn in.
Yeah, and especially in like these beginning scenes and stuff like that. Like, one thing I like want to mention that was sort of like a downfall of films during this period is this is when like horror films, like the color palettes started really being like the really deep greens and blues, and like looking back at that, it's so dated, like the Saw films and like things of that nature. But this one, like, they really let the colors do what they're supposed to do, and it looks like beautiful. And like in those opening scenes when she's running through the woods and the waterfall overlooking, and then even when you get like the CG like going down into the flames and like all that kind of stuff, like at least it is pleasant to the eye and not dated like most films were.
No, it doesn't look dated. It does not look dated. There's some CGI elements of the film that look dated now, but this isn't one of them. And I mean, you have to give the film. I think you really have to be a little bit forgiving if you're watching a film that was made in 2006 that's using CGI, because as we know, technology and the capability of computer graphics just changes drastically within a year, let alone almost 20 years. So I can overlook that. But I do like this opening scene. Right away, the little girl is laying on the ground. The mother gets her, tackles her down, and the little girl is screaming at the top of her lungs she keeps repeating Silent Hill, Silent Hill. And apparently we find out that this is a recurring thing with this little girl, that she has a habit of sleepwalking, and waking up screaming Silent Hill. So the mother, Rose, wants to get to the bottom of why this little girl is so incessantly having these sleepwalking trances where she is obviously drawn to this Silent Hill place.
In the background of this sequence, as this opening moment comes to a close, as they're holding the daughter and the husband's there, Sean Bean, and they're all just, recovering from this traumatizing moment. In the background, you see what I take it to be kind of like one of those like mega churches. There's this gigantic,
gigantic
cross in the background.
Yeah.
And, upon my first few times viewing this, I understood there was a religious element. It's very obvious, but I didn't understand just how deep this movie gets with its religious tones. And for being a video game inspired film, I give it credit that it really gets deep into challenging people's, I would say almost challenging certain belief systems, extremism of religion, the abuse of religion, mistreatment because of religion. And it really taps deep into the psyche of not only hell, but purgatory. As you really start to examine this movie and pull back the layers of the onion, and you start to learn what Silent Hill is, what it represents, and what these different realities are, the existence of this purgatory state of Silent Hill is very present throughout the course of the film, and it presents a lot of questions. And that's why I say you got to go back and revisit this film to answer these questions for yourself, because to this day I don't know for sure certain things, but I really like that they took it there. And it all starts here with this first visual of this cross, because you do see these religious themes and these pieces of religious imagery come up over and over, and there's a purpose for it. Really quickly, we transition right into a sequence of Sharon drawing in a field, and Rose walks up, and you realize pretty quickly that Rose is grabbing the bull by the horns, and she's gonna nip this in the bud right away. You get right to the fucking point. Rose is taking Sharon to Silent Hill. She doesn't care what her husband Christopher says. She's taking things into her own hands, and I like that too. Right to the fucking point.
Yeah, and then in that scene as well, speaking about the religious, not so much undertones but overtones, as they're leaving the tree in the field, we get another billboard of this scripture. I can't recall exactly what it says, but again, it's right there in your face. The religious element to this, and yeah, she's not screwing around. She's we're not taking the kid to therapy. We're not doing this, and that. We are going to find this town, Silent Hill.
And that they do. She packs her right up in her little Jeep and whisks her away to Silent Hill. And the father actually figures out what's going on because he looks, his wife and daughter are missing. So he actually goes to his computer and looks at Rose's search history and sees that she has been actually looking at websites about Silent Hill. And through that, we, the audience, find out that it is a ghost town now that is well known for the fact that it has a constant fire burning under it, which I thought was really interesting because there's really a real ghost town in Pennsylvania. I believe it's Pennsylvania. This is West Virginia. But if you look at it, there's a real ghost town in Pennsylvania where this fire has been burning under it since 1950. So nobody can live there. So I wonder, I'm sure that's where they got the idea to do that from. But the mother takes the daughter, and right away, I have to say, this daughter sort of annoys me a little bit. She's kind of whiny, and I don't, maybe it was just me. I don't know. She kind of got on my nerves a little bit. I felt like this was a 10-year-old girl acting like she was 3. So it kind of was a little grating at moments when she's like, Mommy, the radio's too loud, Mommy. I'm like, oh, Jesus. It's going to be the fucking Babadook all over again.
There's a lot of audio in this movie that, dialogue specifically, that almost has a dubbed-esque quality to it. You hear it from Rose, you hear a lot of it from Sybil, and you hear a lot of it from Sharon. And in some ways, I feel whatever caused this, it definitely takes away from moments of the performances, because you can tell these actors are they're doing their fucking job, but there's kind of a certain flatness to the audio. I don't know if it's the way that the audio was leveled, but to counter that, the sound effects within this film are standout. And especially as you progress into Silent Hill and the different various realms of Silent Hill, you really hear just how pivotal sound is in this film. So even though the acting and the dialogue does have, like I said, that weird kind of flatness at times, it almost becomes secondary to the world around it, so I can live with it. But yeah, so and this also really starts to establish right here at this point Sean Bean's like purpose in the film, which you mentioned is very much inspired by Harry from the original video game, and this movie almost feels in some ways like a prequel to it. Elements of it, even though it does take from the first and second game directly, the story arc, it's got this weird kind of sequel-esque vibe to what the actual story of Silent Hill, the game Silent Hill, is. And his journey, though boring, as I said, it is extremely chock full of exposition. And like right off the bat, you're right, Troy. Like you're like getting information on where Silent Hill is, what it is, what's going on. So it's like boring, but like it kind of serves a purpose.
Well, I mean, hey, he got a fucking paycheck for looking at a website. I mean, it's basically what he does in the movie.
The most hilarious website
Yeah.
of all time, by the way.
Yeah.
It's very much 2005 internet, what he's on right there.
I was struggling to really find his purpose or figure out his purpose in that film throughout the whole thing. But again, you guys, I had no clue. You guys were enlightening me because I haven't played the game. I had no clue that in the video game, the protagonist is actually a male. So yeah,
Yes, it is. It's the father who's trying to find the daughter, and the game actually starts in this segment that we're talking about. So there's no research scene, there's no daughter by the waterfall and all that kind of stuff. It just starts, and this guy is barreling down the road with his daughter into Silent
wow,
Hill.
okay.
You don't know why, you don't know what's going on, and then you're just kind of there. So this is where the game really starts. They added all of that additional stuff at the beginning.
Well, I'm glad they did. It gave us a little bit more exposition. I do like the scene coming up where the mother Rose stops at this like roadside diner, and
It's an all-encompassing
there's everything.
center of the
Oh my
town.
God,
You see a sign for like body piercings in the window. There's a restaurant. You can get gas there.
yeah, free breakfast, tattooing, body art, a post office,
Auto repair.
a dentist. I mean, it's everything.
And I do have to say, regarding Rose's character, though she was created for the film, I think they did a really great job of creating a character that still transitions seamlessly into this world, even down to her wardrobe. Like she looks like she'd come right from the game. It's the high leather boots, like the color palette they used for her. She feels, like you said earlier, buddy, this movie, it feels like Silent Hill, and everyone within it feels of that world. So they did a really good job of creating a character that, though they maybe gender swapped it a bit, it still feels like a very natural choice. But you do really also quickly, with this scene that we're talking about, as they arrive at this diner, tattoo parlor, gas station, post office, you also like are given by this point, giving a very clear idea that Rose is a loving mother. Like they give you, even though they only give you a little bit of exposition before we start getting the ball rolling in Silent Hill, I have no doubt that this is a woman that like is going to do anything for her kid, and a lot of that's in part due to the great performance from Radha Mitchell, but also just like they handle it really well and just giving you just enough of the storyline beforehand to invest you in what's about to happen.
Which is interesting to me that this mother is so protective and so just like into her child. I don't mean that. No, I mean, obviously any mother is going to do that. But in this case, it struck me as being a very interesting kind of plot device, because we do find out in the scene that actually Sharon is adopted. It's not even her real daughter. Because when Rose goes in to pay for gas at this place, the husband has apparently like stopped all the credit cards, so she can't, her card is declined. So she calls him on the phone and she's like, hey, why'd you put a hold on the credit cards? And he's like, you need to bring Sharon back right away. And she has this piece of dialogue where she's like, I'm taking her to Silent Hill. Silent Hill's in West Virginia, and when we adopted her, it said she was born in West Virginia. So it's not even her real daughter. So it's interesting to see this like motherly connection to this adopted child, because let's be honest, generally in horror films, when there's an adopted child, it's like an evil, like little heathen, like an orphan, or just name any movie with an adopted child, and it's usually the child is evil and out to kill the parents. And in this case, it's sort of flipped. The mother is, these two have a strong connection. There's obviously a lot of love there. The mother is putting herself in very obvious danger to protect her adopted child. And on the flip side, the adopted child loves the mother. There's no like evil intent there. So it is kind of a little twist on the adopted child in a horror film trope that you usually see.
In film in general, I mean, you
Yeah.
go back to like Cinderella and like all these films where it's like, oh, the stepsisters are bad and all this kind of
Yeah,
stuff. I mean,
yeah.
it's just very it's ahead of its time. I
Yeah.
guess. I mean, I don't know.
Poor adopted children get a bad
and
rap.
you learn that it's this bond is important. Like as the story goes on, you learn there's a purpose to everything here, and this I think they really focus on this relationship between mother and stepdaughter, because as you get further and deeper in the movie, this is all kind of meant to happen. Sharon's purpose within, not only in the real world but within this film and in everything going on, is she's meant to lure somebody to Silent Hill, and the only way that's going to happen is, I think, through a mother's love. I think this is all planned, as we start to learn. But right now, you already got Rose in a position where she's picking up on things and she's learning things, and we're very lucky to have the token horror movie trope of a child that draws their feelings, because this child is like full on illustrating like everything that Rose needs to know about Silent Hill. Like, here's the past of Silent Hill, here's where you need to go in Silent Hill, the key locations you need to visit. Like, this child has given her a full tutorial on what she's about to get into. So it's a cliche trope that we've seen in so many movies before, but it is prominently used in this film, and it does tie in again to the vibe of the games and all the clues that they would find in the games.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, this is also when we get introduced to Officer Sybil, played by...
Last week, Troy, we had a lesbian we did not like, and this week, we have a lesbian that I love.
Okay, and don't even get me started, because this is, again, the fifth fucking film in a row where there's a character that I love that gets done fucking dirty. I'm about tired of it, Roger. I'm about tired of it. Yeah, I was so pissed when this scene with her at the end, I was so mad.
Understandable, but that's because, I mean, what this movie does well is it gives you characters that, even though they may not have like the most meat to them, every single character, I actually like and care about a lot of the characters in this film. And so, I mean, that right there is a sign of good filmmaking. Yeah. If I care about Sybil Bennett enough that I don't want to see her die, then they're doing something right. And I also love her wardrobe. I love her short crop lesbian blonde haircut, even though I normally hate short hair on a woman, on a female lead, which is so horrible of me to say. But I love everything about her, and I love how she's played in this film, and I think she's a strong character. And all jokes aside, yeah, it's a bummer that she's a character that's done dirty.
Yeah. So the Officer Sybil, comes up to the car and knocks on the window, and little what's her name, Sharon, who I can't get. It's hard for me to call a little girl Sharon. I don't know.
Such a bad name.
It is a bad name.
It's a grandma name, but
it's a grandma name.
Her original name and her name in the game is Cheryl, so that might even be worse.
Sure,
as a
well, that's
name.
even worse. Yeah, I just kept thinking of like my grandma's best friend that she used to go to bingo with. When the mother's screaming, Sharon, Sharon.
Yeah, I think. Well, I mean, neither of those names are necessarily effective.
Could they have changed it to something like
Joan?
Paula?
Like, no, I don't know. Like, all these games suck. I'm not helping here.
Stephanie? I don't know.
Yeah.
Linda?
So there is this whole moment where Rose is basically, she's informed her cards are turned off. She's paranoid. She sees a cop in a sensible leather ensemble who seems intimidating, and she's like, I gotta get the fuck out of here and get to Silent Hill before shit hits the fan. But just as she leaves and thinks she's gotten away, Sybil fucking Bennett shows up on her goddamn motorcycle, and she is just after Rose. And you get some really beautiful aerial shots here that just add to the environment and the vibe. There's so much scope to these shots. They shoot this whole sequence so well.
But what was she pulling her over for? I couldn't figure that out. You're not allowed just to pull anybody over.
Yeah, but you have to keep in mind already, I think there's a report out already because he's ended the cards. I think that the wheels are already in motion with this. Then there comes the fact that when she pulls up, she hears the little girl screaming, which is actually her screaming about the artwork she's drawing. She's like, who drew this? Who did this? I hate this. And I think that initially Sybil is just responding on instinct because she tells that story about the child that she saved in Silent Hill that had been abducted a couple years prior. You know how that's brought up later. I think this is more just showing Sybil's
Well, I don't
instincts.
care, but you're just not allowed to pull anybody over. So when Rose floored it to get away from him, I'm like, yeah, you go because she's pulling you over for no goddamn reason at all. You get the hell out of there. So she does. Or Sybil puts on her little motorcycle siren and chases her down, and Rose actually stops and lets her walk up to the car before she's like, "Put your seatbelt on, sweetie," and floors it.
Yeah, we've had a lot of final girls or female leads in the last few movies that have not been up to par, that have not satisfied me. And I will say that Rose De Silva, she comes out swinging. Like, she doesn't make a single decision that doesn't seem to have thought or intention behind it. Like, her main goal is saving her child, and she pretty much is doing whatever it takes. But she's in survival mode, and I'm pretty impressed by her as a character, especially as things progress.
The only thing better is if she would have been in a pineapple dress for the entire film.
Don't bring that into my world right now, Troy. We're already about to go into fucking Silent Hill hellscape. I don't need pineapple dresses and sorority house massacre mentioned during this podcast.
It's embedded in my brain, though.
It's singed into my mind. It'll never go away. But what's about to happen here is really, like, I would say, my first big conversation piece of the movie, because there's a lot of things about this film that I think are open to interpretation, and what happens here is one of them, in my opinion. So there's this great chase sequence that happens that results in Sharon seeing a figure moving across the street, which is straight from the video game, and she swerves to miss it, and she basically, like, crashes her car and smashes her head against the windshield. And when she wakes up, she's in this alternate universe, this alternate ash-filled reality of Silent Hill. And it's a quick transition. And my question is, for you, buddy, as someone playing the game, for you, Troy, as someone who's never played the game and is just going off of one interpretation of the film, I think there's a lot of ways you could dissect what just happens here, and you can kind of walk away with your own idea. You could go with the idea that they, are basically transported into this alternate reality of Silent Hill because physically they're no longer in the vehicles when the vehicles are found later. Or I guess, like, my main question is, do you think that right off the bat these characters die and are basically wake up in purgatory, the purgatory state of Silent Hill?
I mean, I don't know if at this moment I felt that, because again, I'm new to the whole Silent Hill world, so I'm just watching the film and going along with what's happening. It wasn't really until the end of the film, and we'll get there obviously, that I thought, oh, okay, they pulled like a dead end, or a how many freaking movies have we seen where there's been people that have died in the film, and what we're watching is just them basically transitioning to the afterlife. That's my conclusion in terms of the film as a whole now. At this moment, though, I really wasn't thinking that. I because I didn't really know much about the like I said, I didn't know about the game or the film, so I'm just going along with it. And but yeah, it's interesting. I think that's one of the big questions of the film is what in the hell really happened.
Right, like when you are first transported there, there's definitely like is this a purgatory thing? Is this town just like some sort of alternate dimension, like some sort of Twilight Zone kind of thing? Is there like some sort of like black hole when you go over this bridge that you're not supposed to go to into this town that's full of ash? Like when you're watching it for the first time, it leaves you with all these questions and you're not really sure what you're supposed to be thinking about. And this film does a good job of not answering a lot of your questions until the end and just kind of letting the atmosphere take hold.
Yeah, and that's, I think, where the replayability factor of this movie does come back into play, because yes, it's long-winded, and yes, it really takes its time, but it also leaves you, like, with a shit ton of questions. Like, by the end of your first viewing of this movie, you don't know exactly what just happened, but you're starting to suspect things. Like, Troy, like you just said, at the end of it, you had, like, an aha moment. So then you go back and you rewatch it again to see, like, is that actually what it is? Is that the case? There's little details that the sequence gives you that I really like when Rose wakes up after the car accident, she has, like, they really focus on a wound on her head. And then when you see Sybil a little later, they take a moment to actually acknowledge that Sybil also has head trauma, that she's bleeding from her head. And when you see a shot of her motorcycle having crashed into a guardrail, they really focus on the fact that it was like a violent, like it went onto its side. You see the tire track, you see where it slammed into the guardrail. Like, I think in a way they're trying to give you a little bit of the information that these characters may have actually died. In my interpretation, these characters died upon impact, and that's what got them into the alternate realm of Silent Hill. And now that they're there, there's a purpose for them being there.
Yeah, I think that's very logical. I mean, I think that's based on what we are handed throughout the movie, I think that that's pretty much like hits the nail on the head in terms of my interpretation of the film as well. That they all died, that there was some crash between Rose and Sharon and Sybil. They crashed, they died, and Silent Hill is, like you said, their purgatory or their hell, because obviously it's a pretty brutal, disturbing place to be stuck, even as a purgatory. So to me, it was more like a hell. I wouldn't even call that a purgatory. But I love the imagery here. I love this, the snowy, the ash snow throughout this whole scene is very just beautiful to look at. The town, now this is where you do get that muted color. It's very gray, and she ventures into the town because when she wakes up, Sharon is nowhere to be found. So she ventures into the town to look for her missing daughter now, which sets the whole film into motion.
Yeah, you get some real amazing cinematography during the introduction to the environment. Like, they show you the massive Silent Hill sign straight out of the video game. The incorporation of the ash in the game, it was like fog and snow, and they did make some creative, like they took some creative liberties in how they translated that visual to the screen for the film, but I think they made the right choices, especially like the burning mines underneath the town. That wasn't part of the game, correct, buddy? I'm pretty sure.
So for the like in the game, similar to the film, there's like the alternate like dimensions in Silent Hill. In the film, we have the real world, we have like the ash-filled like purgatory, and then we have the hell, the fire, all that kind of stuff. So in the game, it's similar to that. So you still have the purgatory ash fog, and then you also have, when they delve into the next dimension, into the hell area of it, where everything's on fire, and then you'll wake up and you're in the same spot, and everything is back to the ash. So it does it sort of in similar ways in the film, except they add that extra layer where you have the husband walking around in the weird world as well.
Yeah, they do a really good job of separating that there are like three alternate realities. There is like where we are now. There is this purgatory state that is basically Silent Hill's personal purgatory. These individuals who still reside within Silent Hill, as we're introduced to them, we find out that this purgatory is preserved for a reason. And every once in a while, this hellscape like bleeds through, and that really makes for one of the strongest elements of the film, because we're about to get to this moment that happens that really, like, when these moments kick off, this is what elevates the movie to being, I think, one of the better horror films, at least in the sense of visuals and intensity and just like unique scare factor. It's not like anything else at the time. These moments are what elevate the movie, in my opinion, and make it a standout. It doesn't always gel, but when it does, it's these moments. And I'm really excited to talk about these, because as Rose is basically chasing who she thinks is Sharon, or at least this mysterious Sharon-like figure, through the very effective streets of Silent Hill, she's eventually like lured to the most ominous stairwell I've ever seen, which already she like stops. She's like, I'm not going down that. And then as she's like, Sharon, like, come out. And then as she's like kind of like looming in the stairwell, we get this sound cue of what has become, I would say, the like definitive standout sound effect associated with this series, both video game and film. It's this really prominent storm siren that is unique to the game that, like, when it goes off, it is chilling. I think it's one of the best aspects of the movie.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's very distinct, very noticeable. It's definitely ominous. So when you hear the siren, you are very much tuned into something bad is going to happen. Obviously, it's a warning siren, so it kind of plays up that symbolism in the movie. So when it goes off, you are very much made aware that something is going to happen. And boy, does something happen in this scene, because we really get introduced to the first set of, what would you even call them? Villains, creatures,
Hellspawn.
yeah. They are. She goes into the building and basically runs into a whole pack of these like burning, charred children.
They're demon ash babies.
Yeah.
They're something.
Yeah. Well, there's this whole great sequence of her, like, this moment is so stand out to me because it's not like they just, like, she turns the corner and they're there. Like, you've got her walking through this very, like, throughout this darkened environment with nothing but, like, the light of her lighter, and she's, like, bumping into shit and making all this noise, and she has no idea what's going on whatsoever. The entire world around her has, like, morphed and mutated and changed, and has taken on this, like, absolutely hellish, just the whole environment has just become like this hellscape. It's very distinct and very noticeable, and she has no idea what's going on. And they, through the cinematography and these great aerial shots that they do, these swooping angles, very inspired by the video game, they create this feeling of like disorientation and fear that builds up to this like swelling moment where she turns a corner and she finds like the body of a man hung up on a metal chain fence. And he's like still breathing, so he's still alive, but he's completely disemboweled. like his guts are like hanging out, and he's still like, and as she's like, you know, gagging and reacting as you would finding a man whose organs are hanging out of his body, you see this like drawn out shot of like these legs waddling up behind her, and like I don't care how if the CGI is aged poorly or not, this sequence is horrifying to me. Like, it is just this swarm of these things, and they take their time, and it builds, and it swells into this moment where she turns around and she is just bombarded by this army of mini demon, like, sparking ash babies.
Yeah, and they attack her. They grab her and are pulling on her, and she's screaming. And all of a sudden, I don't know, maybe I didn't catch it, but something causes them to evaporate. I don't know, is it her screaming and struggling, or did I miss something?
Later in the film, you see that hell comes through, I mean, on a regular basis. First of all, if I was trapped in this purgatory, I would just be like, take me now. I don't want to keep living in fear of at any moment hell could start bleeding through into my reality. But you do see, like, at one point, this happens and everybody is within like a church and they start doing a prayer and the darkness is lifted. So in my mind, it's not anything she's doing because she's like running from these things and they're overwhelming her. Like they're about to get her and all of a sudden they disintegrate. Now, what I take away from it is the individuals within the church by this point have, you know, cast the spell and the darkness is lifted until it comes through again within the next 15 minutes. But you know what I mean? I think it's not based off of her and what she's doing. It's elsewhere. People know how to handle
that. Makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah, and then I guess drawing parallel to the game, this is exactly what happens into the game. Except all the little demon hellspawn have knives. But in the film, because obviously in the game, like they need a way to like fight you or whatever, but in the movie it wouldn't make any sense at all for them to be holding knives. So that's a good change that they made there. And then I believe in the game you just kind of pass out and then you wake up and you're in the ash world again. So at least this one it shows them like dissolving and like, okay, there's more of a mystery element to it in this one. In the game there's a lot of instances where your character just passes out and you wake up in one of the other dimensions. So at least in this one they do a better job of getting them to meld together and phasing them in and out.
Yeah, and I do want to also acknowledge during this whole sequence, this like massive aerial sweeping sequence as she's making her way through this like chain link fence setting, there is like really awesome metallic sound effect. It's like this clanking metal. Hell is very associated with like almost like a factory like environment at certain points throughout this film, and they really start in like integrating that audio into these moments as of this sequence, and it is again chilling. The usage of audio throughout this film is really impressive and helps really like oomph up the environment when it does make that transition. When she does wake up, she finds herself in a bowling alley, as you do after passing up, And she goes like she opens the door, and there's a moment where she like looks in the back, like the backyard of this area, and it's set up like it's a wooden fence that is set up the exact same way as this chain link fence environment she was just in. And one thing I like about the transition from Silent Hill to Purgatory to Hell is it all has the same kind of layout, but every single time it evolves, it becomes like more and more horrifying. Down to like the textures and like what it's made out of. Like the Hell version of Silent Hill is pretty fucking terrifying.
Yeah, but can we acknowledge that when she wakes up, she's listening to Ring of Fire by Johnny Cash, which I
Playing on the good old jukebox.
yeah, which I thought was kind of a funny little touch based on what had just happened to her.
And that is the only song that is not an original remix of an original song. That's the only thing in the soundtrack that was not part of the franchise before that. But now you can never forget it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a nice little touch. She runs out. She realizes the road is basically gone. The road ends, and it's not there. It's gone. It drops off into God knows where. And there's this weird vagrant lady she runs into.
Yes.
Um,
This woman is Grisabella from the musical Cats. If you've ever seen
jeez.
Cats, like gay men who are listening, you'll understand. So she is, she's Grisabella from Cats, aka Crazy Dahlia Gillespie, aka Deborah Kara Unger, and she's instantly fucking crazy. Like right off the bat, she's like screaming about her child, that Rose has claimed her child, and she establishes like right off the bat that her daughter Alyssa and Sharon share a lot in common.
yeah, because Rose shows her a picture of Sharon and is like, I'm looking for my daughter. And she immediately starts screaming, That's my daughter! That's my daughter!
Well, like they literally are identical, so the
Yeah.
confusion makes sense. Dahlia's approach to the situation doesn't help anything. She definitely gives crazy vibes. Like, well, first of all, down to her wardrobe. Like, who goes wandering the streets in shredded clothing with mascara flowing down your face, like looking batshit crazy? Like, I wouldn't trust her either. But like the whole thing where they find like not only is like the road, it's like not just a dead end, it like dives into a pit of darkness, and this is what like sets the tone for okay, we're not in Kansas anymore. Clearly this is an alternate reality, like, and we can't get out. So it really does play into more of the idea of like, are these characters dead? Are they trapped in a hellscape? Where the fuck are they? Because as we learned, this is all around the town too. There is no way out of Silent Hill.
Yeah, it's like they're floating. There's
Yeah.
no matter which direction you look, there's nothing but the void.
We do get a scene of the husband looking for her, but let's just breeze right over that because it's pointless. Rose Rose goes back to her car and calls her husband to tell him that what's going on. Doesn't get an answer, and the cop comes. What's her name? Cop
Sybil.
Sybil.
The most
Sybil,
lesbian
Sybil.
name ever. Sybil.
Yeah,
Bill.
right, Sybil. She comes and arrests her for actually fleeing the scene.
Yeah, Sybil's pissed, but reasonably so, because she like doesn't really have a grasp on what's going on either. But like the car is dead. When Rose tries to make this phone call, like she can make the call, but it comes through only as like static and white noise. Which on his end, you learn this in like a few scenes later, and I like all the hints that like this plays off a lot of ideas of like when you think of like hearing ghosts through static, and like it plays off all of these like kind of real life tropes that we like have adopted for our society of the presence of dead ones among us, because later on he thinks he's sensing her and everything. So Rose like consistently can kind of connect with her husband Christopher, even though they're in the same place, they're just not in the same realm. But she does like bleed through every once in a while.
And that's sort of what makes you question, like, are they in purgatory or is this another dimension? Because if you had to guess, okay, are they dead? Are they gone? Like, how is she able to tap into our world and leave a message on his answering machine? Yeah, you can't understand it, but how is that even possible? So no matter what your stance is, you're always questioning what's going on when it makes these parallels in the film.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sybil, cop Sybil, Officer Sybil. I'll call her Officer Sybil. Officer
Officer
Sybil.
Sybil.
She leads Rose through town, and they come to the other end of the town where the road is basically not there. So yeah, what we learn all around them they're basically on an island. This town has become an island. There's no way off of it or out of it. And this is when we see this like this is probably one of the scariest things for me in the film was this creature, this like wobbling sperm cell looking thing that doesn't have arms and it's just coming out of the fucking junkyard. I was like, what the fuck is that? And it's just this disgusting thing.
It's such a good sequence. The way they build up to it, they give you these really like just again the term disjointed, but like really like off disjointed camera angles, like skewed angles that really like make it feel very like distorted and animalistic the way this thing like approaches them. Like even when you see its like legs first before you see it close up, you just see these like legs like coming at them and it's got like tar dripping off of it. And this scene is just shot really well. One curious aspect about it though is it takes place within I'm just going to say purgatory reality because like if you're going to differentiate them, there's the purgatory reality, there's the hell reality. That's how we'll acknowledge the two. So they're within the purgatory reality when this happens, yet there are still demonic creatures that apparently can remain within this realm, which is kind of disconnected with the rest of the creatures who seem to disappear when the hellscape dissolves away. You know, when hell bleeds through, it brings all of the forces of like evil with it. You know, all of these demonic creatures come through with it, but then as it kind of gets prayed away and dissolves away, the creatures tend to dissolve away as well. So we do see these creatures that apparently are like immune to that. It is not explored further. It's a curious decision to make, but I mean, it does leave me like curious as to like how many other creatures can remain within both realities.
Yeah, and this creature, it has the ability to like shoot lava or something like lava or ashes at people because it shoots what appears to me to be like lava at at Officer Sybil. Gets all over, so she immediately has to pull her jacket off and throw it on the ground because it's burning her. You can see it smoking off of her. She shoots this thing. In the meantime, Rose takes this opportunity to basically escape from Officer Sybil. So she takes off running, runs through the town, finds an old school, what was it called? Midmouth or something? Midmouth School, this giant, enormous looking school building that she runs into and starts to explore as you would. And we do get a scene of the officer that her husband Chris has basically run into to help find his wife. And there is a scene now where they're basically driving through Silent Hill, but it's actually normal. It's just a normal looking ghost town. There's nothing about it that's
supernatural.
Supernatural. There, and it's abandoned. Nobody's around. So I guess that does lead you to the question, like if you know all three of these characters, Rose, Sharon, and Sybil are dead. They died in a car crash, or they're somehow wouldn't these two characters know this? Wouldn't the bodies would have been found? They'd be basically there on the side of the road. There'd be a crash that people would notice. Yet these two are exploring the town, and for them though, it's reality. It's as we are now. There's nothing supernatural about it.
They do state that they found the vehicles.
Yeah, and they were
the
empty.
motorcycle.
They were empty. There's no bodies.
They're not there.
Yeah.
And they make I do like, one thing to differentiate these worlds and to show like how, in some ways, how little impact they have on each other is in our like reality, the world of Silent Hill, there's like a deluge. It's a downpour. It is raining the entire time Sean Bean is in Silent Hill, and it looks miserable. I would never want to be on set for this. They seem so just wet and unhappy and soaked through to the bone, but it really it does kind of establish the difference between one world to the next, because the mist world is always just mist, and that's all it is. So in reality you have this just soaking wet, abandoned, dreary environment, which transitions then to this like even drearier grayscale environment where Rose and Sybil currently are. So Rose uses a trope from the games that I really like, where she knows she has to get to the school as per a piece of illustration she found at one point, and she uses this whole shtick of using street like maps on the streets. They have like these basically like signs like "You are here, you are here." This is another thing that's straight from the game. And this whole sequence leading up to the school and getting into the school is one of the sequences that feels the most inspired by the game directly.
Right, yeah, it follows it pretty much step by step. And of course, during her quest, when she is running away from Sybil, she's still handcuffed during this, so then she has to put her arms through her legs, get through the handcuffs, and make her way into the school.
Yeah, and Rose is she's resourceful. Like they have her do this whole thing where she like pulls her legs through, wraps her arms through her legs and like pulls up her handcuffs so at least her hands are in front of her. And she manages to get to the school. She gets into the school and uses a series of again events from the video game to kind of like find tools and things that are going to come in handy. Like she finds a set of keys. She uses the keys to open a drawer. Inside of the drawer is a flashlight. It's the exact same flashlight you see in the game. They do a really great job of having consistently like having little nods to the source material. But so she finds this flashlight and she starts like wandering the school environment, which is terrifying. Like it's one of the more effective abandoned schools because we've seen a lot of them. Like guys, let's be real. This is a common. If you see one abandoned school, you've seen all of them. But this one is exceptionally terrifying. And she's chasing Sharon, Alyssa, whoever through the school. And like going through a series of turns, she comes upon the figure of a man in a mining uniform with like the flashlight on his forehead holding the little cage with a bird in it, which is like a token trick of the trade for miners back when they wanted to detect if like there was gas within the cave or whatever. The birds would inform them that it was poisonous. And these guys, even though they're not monsters, they also make for a very like unsettling appearance. And they're used very well throughout the course of the film to give just yet one more element of fear and one more villain that she has to contend with. Even though they're not monsters, these guys are pretty fucking effective.
Yeah, and something else, like, I guess, when you're watching other films like this and people are, like, in an abandoned school or whatever, like, normally it's, like, a group of teenagers or, like, you're with your friends. Like, she is by herself in this alternate realm, in this abandoned school with these guys covered in ash and staring at her and all this stuff. And, of course, there's all these other things that are about to happen in a minute. But it just shows her, like, relentlessness trying to get to her daughter, especially all on her own. Not even waiting and helping Sybil dispatch of the lava monster guy. She's in there by herself.
Yeah, they do give you a lot of imagery too within the school. This is the first time you're really starting to see like the imagery of like a lot of cult like religious imagery. There's posters on the walls of like living your life with God, and it's very specific the way it's illustrated. It feels very culty. There's an emblem of like a very like ornate cross on all of the windows. It's this purple cross, and it comes prominently into play. And as she's making her way through the school, she also comes upon a desk where a pair of like strategically placed handprints reveal the word witch. Like the dust has been wiped away, and you can see in the wood the wood. You can see in the wood the word witch has been carved. And she opens it and reveals like a perfectly timed flashback, giving us some history on who Alyssa actually is. Apparently a witch, or so we're told.
Well, yeah, the people thought her classmates and stuff thought she was a witch, basically because she didn't have a dad, and her mother got pregnant by God knows who. So of course that's a big no-no when we're talking about religion. So yeah, she finds this desk. So we do get the introduction to Alyssa Gillespie, and she runs into this bathroom and hears like this little girl crying in a stall. But when she opens the stall, this is when we get this guy, this body that's like tied with barbed wire, like in the stall, just disgusting looking.
This whole sequence is nightmare fuel. Like this.
Oh, and then the siren starts to go off again at this moment, and then the helmet guys show up and try to get at her, and are like pounding on the door, and she is like rubbing her necklace saying save me, and it's pretty fast paced, pretty disturbing.
Yeah, it the build up to this whole moment is at times gut wrenching because she goes through these stalls. She thinks she's chasing her daughter. Like she's hearing the cries of a girl's voice. It sounds like Sharon. Then when she opens this stall, she's surprised to find a man's corpse bound by barbed wire in a very distorted and like fucked up position where his arms are like crucified out and his legs are like bound behind his head. It's wild. It's gross. And written above him, because he's like above a toilet, so like written in shit, I'm assuming, above the toilet is like dare you, double dog dare you. And it has an arrow pointing down to like his head. And you can see in his mouth there's like something in there. So this bitch, like Rose has bigger balls than any of us. Like she like full on goes into the stall and puts her hand in this dead man's mouth and like pulls out a piece of like a little piece of woodwork from a hotel. And this kind of sets off the series of events because then the guys they find her in the room, they start pounding to get in. She uses the key she found to lock the door. She starts praying. Here's more of those religious, you're right, overtones at this point because it is pretty blatant and it's used all throughout. And the bird starts chirping. And I love the usage of like the coal miner's bird to detect when the presence of hell is going to come through, because the moment the bird starts chirping, these guys drop all their shit and they are out of there. They're out of there. They're like, fuck this. And what happens with this sequence though? Like this is again one of the standout moments in the movie, I think.
Yeah, it's the paint. The paint and stuff starts peeling off of the walls, like melting off the walls to transform the setting into the more like hell-like Silent Hill setting. And this creature, which I'm assuming I think it's the guy that was in the bathroom stall, right? Because it's all contorted and wrapped in barbed wire, comes like crawling out of the bathroom, like on all fours, all distorted, growling at her. And it's pretty scary.
It's insane. He's like flicking his tongue at her. He's like, oh, la, 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 la. And like that, even that, like you learn later in the film, like not to jump ahead, but like you learn that this guy specifically is like, they allude to he's someone who kind of like sexually abused Alyssa.
He raped her.
You
Yeah,
see it in these flashbacks.
Yeah, he was like the school janitor or something.
Yeah,
right. And so you see like him like flickering his tongue at Rose, and it like knowing what you know after viewing the movie over a few times, it makes it all the more like disgusting and unsettling why he's doing what he's doing.
And the guy who played that character is also various other creatures in the film. He was a choreographer, actually. He choreographed many films, and he's a contortionist as well. So that's actually him all strapped up behind and all that kind of stuff. He plays Pyramid Head in this film as well. And nowadays, I mean, they could have done the guy full CG, like whatever. So it's just like cool to like see that like they actually had a guy doing that.
Yeah. They use a lot of CG throughout the sequence, but I also appreciate the fact that like they tried to cut as few corners as possible. Like, yeah, this was made in 2006, but they're doing some of these sequences are just wild. And like I said, couldn't really be done without the aspect of CGI. Like it's very dependent on it. And because of that, it works. But they still do try to use a lot of practical effects as possible, and I appreciate that. And you see that in this scene because, yeah, it's definitely not a CGI creature. This guy is an actor, as you said. Here you are, buddy, spewing facts and information. That's why we have you. You're hired. But this whole scene, like, and once this starts, the whole time you're in this hell realm, as of this point moving forward, it's fucking batshit crazy.
Yeah, it is, because this is the scene after that creature is kind of like out of the picture. All these giant, what are they? They're
like
beetles or cockroaches or bugs. They're about the size of a football. I mean, they're huge. They just start coming out of the doorway, and there's not just like one or two of them. There's like hundreds.
It's a swarm.
It's a swarm. Yeah. I mean, it's a big glob of them just coming out of this room. And they're all running towards Rose, and all of a sudden you see this like big guy come out of the doorway too, and it's Pyramid Head, surrounded by his army of bugs.
Everything that happens here is again, like I said, it's nightmare fuel. It's they really did a good job of taking like the wildest limits of what hell could be and just like going fucking crazy with it. Because first of all, like when the demon with the barbed wire puts his hand on the wall, it starts to like develop this vein like structure, and that alone looks pretty fucking disgusting. Like that visual alone, I would have been like, this is enough, you can leave it here and I'm already sold. But then the vein like structures start opening with like pustules, and from the pustules come these fucking beetle demons. And the beetle demons, they're like the Egyptian beetles. What are those things called?
The
They're like
scarabs.
scarabs, but they got faces, as you see at one point. And there are millions of them. And so Rose is running and she's flipping her shit as you do. And she turns the corner and she sees like the miner men, like the coal miners who she were earlier trying to, bust through the door and get her. She sees them like being eaten alive, like they're swarmed, covered in these things, and their flesh is just being eaten from their bone. So at that point, like, fuck me already. Like, what do you do then? So yeah, then she takes off running and even goes further, and Pyramid Head just comes out of fucking nowhere. Who Pyramid Head is a character from the Silent Hill 2, but I would say this is his best form. Like, it's his most effective form, the cinematic version, because he just looks like unlike any other big baddie I can think of. He is definitely his own thing. He has his own aesthetic. I find him unusually sexy, as I said earlier, and he's got like his bare ass revealed. His body's all like lean and muscular. He's got this big ass butter knife that he uses to just do his shit. And he's got this big old pyramid head. And I don't know if like there's a real head underneath this pyramid head, or if his head is actually this metallic pyramid. Either way, he's up to no good, and he's certainly looking to get Rose. And at one point she just drops to the ground, like crying into the flashlight as its batteries are dying. And I'm like, I would be in the same boat, Rose. Like, take me now. Like, I'm not going to fight any longer. If this is the reality I have to live in, with this fucker coming after me at random when I least expect it, I would just give up.
But Officer Sybil saves her, though. Comes out of nowhere, grabs her, pulls her into a room. They shut themselves in this like little boiler room, and this is when Pyramid Head is on the other side of the door, shoves his like fucking 50-foot long butter knife. This is
Good thing the room is 51 feet.
Right? This
barely
butter knife. This knife is like huge. Where do you find a knife this big?
Hell! You find it in hell. Only people from hell have these knives. But like, and he's cutting through this steel door like it's like literally butter. It's like paper, and he's swinging it through. These women are screaming. They have no idea what's going on. Those beetles are coming through. you see a few of the beetles in close up, and I have to say, like, out of all the CGI, the beetles have like held up the least, because they have like little faces, and like at one point one of them screams at Sybil. It's like, "Ah!" and she like steps on it, and like I mean, it's like ew, but it's also like that's very fake. But like that's one of the few moments that really doesn't still sell it for me. But of course, like just in the nick of time, as like Sybil is unloading her gun and firing into this Pyramid Head's arm and doing nothing, because he's still coming for them. The hellscape starts to dissipate, and it goes away, as it does.
It goes away. She shoots him in the arm. It causes everything to go back to normal. And this is when Rose, who has taken this broken plastic part of like a hotel key, because you can see like half the room number on it, she's like, well, I have to go to this hotel because that's where Sharon's going to be. So they head to this hotel. And you get introduced to, again, is it Anna? Anna and Dahlia?
This bitch.
She's throwing rocks at poor Dahlia. It's like whapping her in the head with rocks, saying, shut up, you old hag, throwing rocks at her, and we're a witch.
Anna gives a really good introduction to the people of Silent Hill. She's in it only for like a minute. She
Thank
really
God.
doesn't serve a ton of purpose. She's super obnoxious, and she's very like simple. She like the few words that come out of her mouth, she kind of sounds just dumb. Like she's a very simple-minded, brainwashed cult member. She fits the mold perfectly. But she's like, I mean, she basically is there to spew some more exposition and introduce the name of Christabella, which is a character that comes into play. But she kind of gives you some backstory on the cult, what the cult's about, and you get the idea that they're kind of trapped in this Silent Hill purgatory, protected by their faith, their extreme religious faith. And so they're in this hotel, and they basically go on this journey with Anna. They have a group of 3 girls, which is kind of cool. I like that it's a female-based group where they're exploring the rooms of this hotel.
Yeah, they're trying to find. Well, they go to the hotel desk, and in one of the slots, the mail slots for room 111, is a picture. It's basically one of Sharon's paintings. And Rose recognized it right away. So they're like, okay, we have to go to room 111. So they head up to room 111, but they get to the hallway, but there's no room 111, but there is like this, what is it? It's a painting. It's a religious painting of something. Is it like the Virgin Mary or something?
Well, it's a painting of a witch being burned at the stake.
Oh, same thing.
And it very much coincides with a piece of art that Sharon had drawn previously.
Yeah.
Which is how Rose knows to identify it. But the whole like burning at the stake comes into play multiple times. Like it goes beyond just the specific painting. You find out there's way more to witches being burned at stakes than just this one moment. Because Rose, who a very smart call, chose to steal a knife from Crazy Anna, because I would never let a cult member have a knife around me. She takes this knife and she cuts her way through this painting and reveals a hidden door, the room that they've been looking for. And Sean Bean has been sleuthing this whole time. Let's be clear. And there is a moment, I want to go back and see, there's a moment where Sean Bean is like looking for Rose in this smoke-riddled reality, because it is still oozing smoke from the burning, the coal fires beneath it. And he's wearing like the mask, like, you know, like one of those...
Like the M95 is like one of the heavy duty ones.
And it was like, ooh, this like hits in a different way now. Like, I know it's just, they didn't intend it, but now just seeing the visual of it made it feel...
No, I thought the same thing, because there's the part where he takes the mask off and the cop's like, put your mask back on. And I'm like, oh God, this is like very 2021, getting yelled at for not wearing a mask.
Very much so. And that's also the moment where he, like we mentioned before, he senses Sharon's presence. And that does happen a few times. And there is this moment where she runs by in the hellscape reality and he feels her presence. And he says it. He's like, she was here. I feel her. I know she's here. But like, it's just the gas. But little do they know, there are alternate realities at play. But so sleuthing. He's, at this point, he's even breaking into places and stealing files. He's been getting down and dirty, while meanwhile Rose has been exploring this hotel. And it all kind of leads her to this, like, dilapidated area of the hotel that is very, like, quite an ornate set.
Yeah, he's been padding the running time. She hears the little girl crying, and she goes into this elaborate, like, it's supposed to be a hotel room, but this fucking thing looks like it's like the department store. It's huge, and the floor's caved in. There's like these contraptions you have to walk across, like you're balancing on a balance beam to get from one end to the other. The whole room is in disarray. She hears a little girl crying, and she actually manages to get down to where this little girl is, and it is a spitting image of Sharon. But the little girl, it's Alyssa, right?
It is dark Alyssa, the little demonic one. Because so like there's the three versions. There's the Sharon version, the burnt Alyssa, and then there's like the demon, like setting my arms in horrible CG flame Alyssa.
And not just setting them aflaze, but announcing it. Like, look at me, I'm burning. Because she literally says it.
That was pretty cringy, actually. The line delivery and the CGI. Yeah. She's like, I'm burning.
But Alyssa, so Sharon is Cheryl in the game. But Alyssa is still Alyssa
correct,
in the game, correct?
Yeah.
So, yeah, cool. Because I know you've been playing the game. I'm using you as a crutch. I'm falling back on you here, buddy. Because I got to freshen up on the game rules. It's been a hot minute since I played it. But we do see her a few times. Like, at one point when Rose is running through the school, she even, like, there's a sequence where she sees who she thinks is Sharon scribbling on a desk, but then it does like one of those rotations from like the 2000s, very Matrix, where it's like whoosh, 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 and it like rotates around the desk, and she like looks up and she's, you know, dark Alyssa. So this is now the second time she sees her, so she at least knows to like confront her as a different person. She's no longer suspecting that it's Sharon. She knows that there might be somebody else. So when she sees dark Alyssa, dark Alyssa, like we said, she sets herself on fucking fire. Yeah. I mean, it's quite the introduction to Dark Elish.
Well, she disappears after she sets herself on fire. The siren goes off again, and now our birds are flying everywhere. The siren is going, so we know something is coming. And they run out of the building and they head towards this church, right? And all of these, like all of a sudden now, all these other townspeople that we haven't seen are running towards the church, and they all go inside, and we get Pyramid Head stomping with his giant butter knife. And as they're going in, he actually gets a hold of Anna, right? It's Anna. Yeah, poor Anna.
Yeah. Well, what I like in this sequence is that Anna... So everybody's running into the church. It's made pretty clear here because Anna's like, she says it. She's like, we got to get to the church. So you learn that the church is like this safe haven for the populace of Silent Hill that seem to be trapped in this purgatory world. So they're all running through the cemetery, up the staircase to the church. Sybil Bennett is in awe of what she's seeing. And they all hang back because Dahlia's on the steps, and she's basically saying, like, your blind faith is going to be your, like, final downfall. Like, she's spitting out warnings and foreboding, and as she's trying to warn Rose she's trying to tell Rose exactly what's going on with these people, she gets hit by a rock. And it's fucking judgmental Anna with her bitchy face. This girl, she just looks so... she looks like she's in the midst of a shit at all times. She's so hostile. She's stoning poor Dahlia. And I like that it's because of her, like, hesitating to throw stones at somebody that, like, Pyramid Head just manifests behind her and, like, grabs her. And he's like, fuck you. And he, like, rips her dress off. And she's butt cheek naked, just hanging there screaming. And then he grabs her tits and he rips her skin off. It's a very violent kill.
I was crying. Like, I was watching because I had heard about this scene in great detail for years before I'd ever watched the film. And when it happened, I was screaming.
In a good way?
Like, I was just like, this is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen. Grabs her, twists her skin completely off, and throws it at the church window in a big blood splatter.
Oh yeah, it like sprays everybody. It's so graphic. And I love, like, when you see him grab her nude breasts, yeah, you see, like, him dig his fingers in and start rotating it, and you just see the skin, like, starting to pull. It is so graphic. And some of the CGI is, like, a little bonkers, but for the most part, like, though it's over the top, this scene holds up.
It's quick. You don't really get it's graphic, but it's not as graphic as it could be. I mean, it never shows her the aftermath of, like, her body, her skinless body. It's basically he rips the skin off in a clump and throws it at the church doors. The other people are running inside. This is when once they're inside, everyone starts accusing Rose and Sybil of being witches, and
these people all look fucking
they are miserable. Well, look who they're following, this Christabella bitch.
Yeah, and she is not any better. Because, like, when you think of cult-like mentalities, like, they really just, like, I don't want to say they phoned it in. This is the cultiest of all cults. Like, they're in a church, they have an emblem, they have a special prayer, they pray away the demon, and, like, everything that Christabella spews out of her mouth is just hateful and seems like it's such, like, brainwashing material.
And they latch right onto their leader. And then when you see the people in the town, like, they're all, like, basically in, like, rags and all that stuff. And, of course, Christabella, she's got, like, that fancy, like, gown that she's wearing, and she's talking up all on her high horse. And, of course, everyone's just eating up everything she's saying. And, yeah, it's just the classic cult-like mentality taken to the absolute extreme in this, because they literally cannot get out.
Yeah. And for this being a church, it's also filled with, like, so much imagery of just, like, brutality and violence. There's, like, so much to do with, like, people being burned at stakes, and, like, there's illustrations on the floor and everything that just look like it is not a pleasant place to be. But somehow it keeps them safe. Somehow, and this is one other thing, like, in the sense of conversation pieces about this film, I find the usage of their blind faith to be such an interesting piece of the puzzle, because we're really starting to get into the religious tones of the movie. And once they get in the church, they find out that it really is like a safe zone. It does prevent the darkness from coming through, and they have to do this prayer that they all gather around the central piece of the church, and they do a prayer, and it causes the darkness to lift, and you even see like the light come through the windows for a moment and everything. And it's interesting to me because like it's aware of this whole world within Silent Hill. They're aware that this blind faith has a certain amount of power, so it's not saying that like religious belief isn't effective, but at the end it's leaning towards the idea that it is kind of just a band-aid. Like it really, it's nowhere near as powerful as the dark forces that exist. Am I making sense? Like it really, it only protects them for the time being, but I don't think like it. To me it seems that like heaven, if heaven exists within this universe, they don't want you because of what you did, as we as the viewers learn what you, the people of Silent Hill, did to this girl. So you're stuck in your own purgatory, but your faith does at least allow you to stay safe from the darkness should you remain in this safe zone. It's interesting, it's kind of convoluted, but I don't know, I find it to be one of the more interesting aspects of this movie, how heavily they play into the religious elements.
Yeah, if there was like a true, if the church in this was really helping them and protecting them, they would have been out. So, like you said, it's sort of protecting them for the time being because Pyramid Head and the Hell is always going to come back. But it's not like they're escaping Silent Hill; they are trapped there. And then even the cult leader, like she, at first when they come in, I remember her being like open to them, like being there, and it's like, oh, this is great. Like, yeah, of course we're gonna help you find your daughter, this, and that. And then she sees the picture, and then that's when the flip of the switch where she's like, all right, stone the witches.
Yeah, because basically Christabel or Rose and Sybil meet Christabella, and Rose explains that she's looking for her daughter, and Christabel is like, "Well, the demon is the one who knows where your daughter is, and he's in this like hidden room, like way down in the basement of this hotel or whatever this is, a church that's like
The hospital.
what? Yeah, it's like the floors. It goes.
It's the hospital
It's like
room.
the gas station. It's everything just all in one.
It's everything.
Yes,
But he's in some room like B151. She makes her memorize the map so that she knows. And Christabella agrees to take her and Sybil to the room. And she's like very blunt about it. She's like, you know what, you guys, I don't plan on seeing you again because nobody who has ever gone down there has ever come back up. But I'm more than happy to help you find your daughter. And it is the necklace, the locket that Rose has wore. She dropped it, and Christabella had picked it up. And as they're getting ready to descend down the elevator, Christabella hands the locket back to her, but sees the picture, and it's the picture of Sharon, and she's like, witch. And that's when all hell breaks loose. This is when you really get to know that Christabella is a villainous, horrible person who is capable of almost as worse as any of these villains that are lurking Silent Hill.
Well, and she's a full manipulation over the people of her church.
Oh, they'd have her do anything.
Yeah.
Sybil does make sure that Rose gets into the elevator, and actually she's like, go find her, and shuts the elevator and lets her go down. And in the meantime, those helmet guys start to like beat the shit out of Sybil.
Oh yeah, Sybil like makes herself to be, I mean, in some ways, the standout hero of the film with this sequence. Like she, at this point, having gathered the full story of Rose's purpose there and seeing everything that happened, she literally sacrifices herself for Rose to continue with her journey. And when earlier you mentioned like Sybil getting done dirty, there's this whole moment where she like raises her gun to fire it at Christabella, and like, God, you want to see her shoot the bitch, because by this point Christabella has really established just what a person she is. And Christabella like reacts like she's gonna get shot, and the moment the gun doesn't go off, her minions just step in with these metal pipes and they beat the fucking shit out of Sybil Bennett, powerful lesbian police officer. As meanwhile Rose is on like that elevator ride from Disney World, like the Tower of Terror, where she's free
It's just
falling.
pitch black.
The most horrifying. This poor woman has been through so much. I mean, like, she had no idea what she was getting into with this. But she keeps on trucking, and she goes right down into basically what is the depth of hell for her daughter.
Oh, yeah, and this is when she's introduced to, as she's walking through these hallways trying to get to this specific room, she runs into this horde of zombie nurses, demonic
Busty,
nurses.
sexualized demon nurses. They can't.
But their faces are like wrapped in like gauze. You can't even
But
see
their
their faces.
cleavage.
But they're wearing traditional they're wearing traditional nurse uniforms with big boobs, and they're moving all awkwardly, and they're like almost like it's a group of them, but they're almost like synced to like when they move together.
It's a very effective sequence.
And it is. It's pretty. Yeah, it is. These things are pretty creepy, and she realizes that when she shuts the flashlight off, that they freeze. They respond to the light of the flashlight. So she shuts the flashlight off, and she proceeds to make her way through them as they're frozen, and they're like "Ugh," as she's walking by. And she does something. She like bumps one of them, and it goes ballistic and like slashes the throat of another one, and they just start killing each other.
They're not the smartest villains, but
No, they're not.
They're visually the most stimulating. At least for, I guess, straight men. God, I mean, if you look into the fanboys of the Silent Hill franchise, they fucking love these broads, these busty nurses with their mutant faces, which I would think the mutated morphed face would be like a deal breaker, but some of these guys seem to like it. And in the game series, when it was a male protagonist, I know there was like an underlying sexual tone for what these characters represented. And you lose the purpose of that now having a female lead. These characters are literally just in this because they are like fanfare fodder. Like the fans of the games know the visual of these nurses, but they don't really serve the same purpose they did within the video game. They're just in it for this moment. They're fucking cool to look at. They're unusually sexy and have high heels and short skirts, and then they kill them. Like, they literally just slaughter each other. It's a weird sequence, but I love it.
Oh, I did too. I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, because they're basically completely blind because of their disfigurement, and then they're covered with the bandages over their eyes anyway, so they're just like slashing at whatever, and instead of getting who they're supposed to, they end up just taking themselves completely
slitting
out.
each other's throats. Rose gets in. She finally makes it into the room, and now we get this. Oh, I don't know. It's a voiceover that's just a bunch of exposition in the voice of Alyssa, and we get the whole backstory about what happened to her. That she was picked on by the other kids for being fatherless. One day when she was being picked on, she runs into the bathroom to kind of get away from the kids, and the creepy janitor's in there, and it's very much insinuated that he rapes her. Her mother finds her, and basically Christabella and her groupies want to like atone the sins of this little girl. What is her sin? She got raped and she doesn't know who her father is. So they lure her mother and her to like this gathering at this hotel under the guise of something else. And the group takes Alyssa away from her mother, shoos her mother off just as her mother kind of realizes what's going to happen. There's a scene where her mother's like, oh my God, what did I do? But she doesn't try to do anything. She just leaves. And then there's a brutal scene of them burning this child alive on like a grill. She's literally on this giant grill being.
How do they get it there?
It's huge, and folks. It's a grill. It's a grill. It's like one of those cheap like grill you put charcoal on the bottom of. The girl is laying,
but gigantic.
Yes, the girl is laying on the rack of this grill, just screaming her fucking head off, being burned alive. Something happens though. Doesn't really not very clear, but something happens where the grill gets tipped over. And all of the charcoal and fire falls onto the floor and falls into like the grates of the hotel. And we're assuming that's what starts this everlasting fire. And in the meantime, a cop comes and carries basically Alyssa's burned body. She's just, there's no skin left on her. She's just like this burnt thing. Carries her out of the the hospital or out of this room and she's still alive.
It's the same. The cop is now the detective
Yeah.
assisting.
Yeah.
That's assisting Sean Bean, who is, meanwhile, Sean Bean is like been to an orphanage. He's hanging out with nuns. He's getting backstory. He's serving angsty bitterness and betrayal with his wife, but he's finding out information as we go along. So like he's got a story, but honestly, like the meat of this is Rose's story. So like that's neither here nor there, to be honest. If you want to really get Sean Bean's story, watch the movie.
But yeah, they screw up the ritual basically. So when the ritual goes wrong, the basically that's what sets the town on fire because it knocks over the coals into the whole thing. It sets the whole place ablaze. And because of that ritual not going the way it was supposed to go, because obviously this was just a normal little girl who had some fucked up shit happen to her. And I mean, you hear this all the time with like the Salem witch trials, like all this stuff, just like a bunch of crazy religious people claiming people to be witches who are either different or they don't understand them, and all this crazy stuff actually manifests what they were trying to dispose of in the beginning. This dark Alyssa, this demonic presence is actually manifested because they screwed up their own ritual trying to quote unquote cleanse or purify this witch.
Well, and one thing, like, you know, there's like lots of things about this film that I think are meant to be open to interpretation. One of them, first of all, did Dahlia know what was actually going to happen and then last minute regret it? Or did she think that they were doing one kind of ceremony and then, oh, she finds out later that they're going to cook her child alive? Like, I almost got the vibe that she knew that she was sacrificing her kid because her sister, as you find out, Christabella is Dahlia's sister, and whoever their mother was did not know how to name children. But you find out they're sisters, and she's basically convinced to go through with this. But they're not clear about whether or not Dahlia knew exactly what was going to happen. Regardless, one thing to acknowledge at this point, Dahlia seems to be one of the only individuals who is not affected by the hellscape. Like, when the hellscape comes into Silent Hill, when Pyramid Head bleeds over, there have been several moments now where Dahlia has actually been present, and it does not come for her. It doesn't kill her or affect her. So whatever happened within this decision she made, whether it be that she repented what she did or felt guilt or what have you, it doesn't seem like the dark forces are after her. But what we do learn is that the dark forces are looking to claim the souls of these people who basically tried to sacrifice Alyssa. And it plays again into the idea that are all the people within Silent Hill, within this purgatory, are they dead? Are these people that died within that fire and now their souls are trapped in this alternate reality of Silent Hill? And because of their blind faith, they're at least keeping themselves in this purgatory, but it's really hell that wants them because what they did was so vile. But they are convinced that what they did was, you know, honestly for a greater good. So because of that blind faith, they've managed to keep themselves, quote unquote, safe until that point.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of interpretations, and that's the thing about this film is lots of pieces to put together, and it does require multiple viewings. You know, despite how long it is, if you can get through it, you know, more than one time, probably a good thing because you do pick up on things that you certainly don't the first time you watch it. In this point in the movie, some of the group members or the cult members or whatever you want to call them, they capture Sharon and they take her down to the main level with all the other group members where Christabel is at. And at this point, they have Sybil tied to a ladder, and Christabel has ordered her to be burned alive as a witch. So they basically start this huge pit of fire ablaze and slowly lower the ladder with Sybil tied to it into the flame, and I was so mad. So mad.
It is a brutal death though. Like,
oh god, it shows her cooking, it shows her like just I was like, well, how are you doing this character like this? Like, this is the strongest character like ever.
Oh yeah.
And you are gonna do her like that? I was like mad.
Yeah, but she was an epic character, at least with an epic death. We've seen some characters in reviews prior to this where, like, you know, you've had a character that you like and they're just like thrown to the wayside, like a knife through the gut, and they're done. At least she, like, I mean, this woman gets quite a finale. And it is gruesome and it is painful, but like it is one of the standout moments of the film, I would say, from a cinematic angle. While this is happening, and while these sacrifices are happening, I do want to acknowledge that there has been this moment where Sharon has actually face to face now spoken with the Dark Alyssa, who very clearly makes a statement that she's like, I have many names. I am known, as in many forms, basically implying that to me, Dark Alyssa is the devil. Like, I mean, not, I'm not, they don't say it outright that she's the devil, but she basically says, I have many names and I basically want these souls that are owed to me. So she calls herself the Reaper. I mean, she says she's the Reaper. So we've got this now really prominent demonic presence that's come into play that also adds like a whole other layer to this. And it does make me curious, and I want to know what you guys think. This whole thing of witchcraft has been building up and building up at this point. With Sharon slash Alyssa and what we're told and what she represents, do you guys think that Alyssa was actually a witch and really did possess some of this dark power that they're so scared of? And it's because that they acted on it and unrightfully, burned this girl alive. That what gave her the ability to make this connection with this demonic force to allow this what's about to happen to occur? Or do you think that witchcraft is not even playing a factor into this, that it really is just because she's so hateful after what's been done to her that it allowed this demon force to kind of come through and execute what it is she wanted to do?
I don't think that she was a witch before, and I think it's like it was just the rage, I believe, because even then when like you see her in the hospital bed and she's all burnt up. I mean, she kills the nurse or whatever, and then basically the Dark Alessa is all the evil manifest, and then Sharon is basically the little girl who we saw. She's the good natured everything, and this demon is basically, at least in my interpretation, what the people in the church created when they were what they thought that she was. She manifested who they were picturing in their minds as this evil witch, this terrible person, this little girl who needs to be burned alive. They created what they sought to destroy.
Yeah, they thought that they were doing an act of like like a holy act in the sacrifice, but they instead manifested this evil and like let this evil into this world, into this alternate world, and it's because of them that it's there to begin with within Silent Hill, and it wants what it's rightfully owed, which is the souls of all the people that did this. So it creates, like, honestly, like we said, the religious overtones have been consistent. It builds up to this very, for being a video game inspired film, a very deep, insightful finale. It gets wild. Shit's about to get wild. But I mean, there is a lot to unpack here. There's a lot to unpack and analyze, and it is worth revisiting this film a few times to really, I think, figure out what it means to you, how you interpret the material, because it can go a lot of different ways.
Yeah. Yeah, and we can just What ends up happening is they now have Sharon tied to the ladder, and they're going to do the same thing about her, to her. Christabel is ordering that Sharon be burned as a witch. Rose shows up and is basically, she's done. She's had enough of their shit. She is cussing them out. She's confronting them about their faith has brought nothing but death. Some of the townspeople even like step forward and like slap her, and there's one guy that punches her to the ground, and she still gets up and heads right over to Christabella and is like, you are a fraud, you're doing nothing good for God. God doesn't even know you exist. And Christabella takes out a knife and stabs Rose right through the heart. And you think she's dead, as you would, but we see like the blood from the knife drip onto the floor of the church and just spread out, and it kind of changes the environment again, and opening the floor, and now we get like the body of the burnt Alyssa like on this bed surrounded by like all this like barbed wire and razor wire surrounding her, kind of elevates from the floor. And from then all hell breaks loose. Rose is alive, barbed wire's flying everywhere, killing everybody.
It's wackadoo. I mean, this final sequence is insane. It's a lot. It's a lot of CGI. It's a lot of murder. Right prior to this point, at the conclusion of the sequence between Rose and Dark Alyssa, there's literally a moment where Dark Alyssa hugs Rose and is absorbed into her. And so you're giving the idea that like Rose has been given a task. There's a purpose for all of this. I do find it really cool that at this point, Rose has been through so much. She's been so injured that her dress, which was like gray, and she had like a gray top and a darker gray skirt, is now red. Like she's literally dressed all in red because of all the blood and everything that she's just like encountered along the way. But it also is kind of symbolic, I think, in some ways, because she's got this dark. She comes into this church with this darkness inside of her. They're not aware of it. But the darkness, I think, knows that they're going to try to fucking sacrifice her. And the moment that she gets stabbed and that blood starts coming out, like, their actions and their violence towards these people have literally let hell into their safe space. Their acts of evil have allowed these demonic forces to come in. And once it's in, they can't get it out no matter what. And it does its thing.
Yeah, it's what the Dark Forces wanted all along. Like, the Dark Alyssa was using her as a shell in order to infiltrate the church, where normally the prayers and everything would keep them out, but since the force was inside of her when she was stabbed, it was finally able to let loose into their safe space, which is what the intent of it was.
Oh yeah, it's wild. The barbed wire basically rips Christabella in half. I mean, it goes up through her vagina and everything. It's like comes out of her, all her eyeballs, comes out of her whole body, and then just rips her in half. You couldn't ask that to happen to a better person. And it basically just kills all the town people. So it gives Rose and Sharon the chance to escape. They get into the car. The town's now back to normal Silent Hill. On the way, they're calling home. And we do get a transition into Chris. The father is at home laying on the couch, and he hears the phone ring at the same time that Rose is calling, and she leaves a message on the answering machine, but all that's coming through is static, as the same thing happened in the earlier part of the film when she's trying to make a call. They get home, they open the door, and Chris is laying on the couch. They see him, but then he's startled awake because he must feel their presence. And he gets up and they are nowhere there, but the front door is open and the film basically ends.
Yeah, I can't really think of a better way to end the film. Like,
no, it's very open. I love the fact that it's very open-ended. You are really left to determine. And I think it really boils down to one of the two choices that you said at the beginning. Either these characters really died at the beginning and everything that we kind of watched throughout the film was them maybe transitioning into the afterlife, or they are literally stuck in purgatory.
Yeah.
Or an alternate world, an alternate universe that they're never going to be able to escape.
And there's one point where, like, right before basically she and Dark Alyssa make their pact to work together, where Sharon says, she said, "Why did you pick me?" And Dark Alyssa basically just says right to her, she's like, "Because you're the one that cared. You asked the right questions. You followed through with it." She even says to Rose, "Their blind conviction denies me from their church, and I cannot enter, but you can." And so it's basically established that the whole Sharon storyline, which you do get a lot of this with Sean Bean and the orphanage and everything leading up to this, which we've kind of almost not touched on because it is so groaning at times. It just goes on, but you get the idea that Sharon was planted in our reality with the purpose of bringing somebody to Silent Hill to enact this mission. And Sharon is the good, kind elements of Alyssa so that the parental figure would love this child enough to pursue all of this and bring her back to Silent Hill to get the ball rolling on making this happen, which I think is a very deep and at times convoluted storyline, but a really good one at its core. They purposely planted this child to find a loving parent who would go to the ends of the earth to try to figure out why their child is so tortured. That they come back to this location only to be like kind of dragged into this hellscape to help the forces of hell come through and punish these people. Rose is literally just a tool, a pawn for this greater purpose. And it's very sad when you think of it. And she feels justified, I think, that she's saved her daughter. But you see this moment towards the end when she grabs Sharon in the midst of all of this violence going on, all these people getting ripped up and torn apart by barbed wire and killed by Alyssa in her floating bed. You see that Sharon kind of has taken on this new persona. Almost like, it's like, you see all three of them have kind of melded together to become one. And you even see it when Dark Alyssa walks up to her and like looks down, and they basically seem to absorb into each other, So it's a very interesting note because the Sharon that she leaves with is not the same Sharon she had to begin with.
No, it's a more fully realized version of the little girl, which is what she should have had all along. The little girl throughout the film, or through the beginning of the film, craved or had a connection to Silent Hill for a reason, and it was for her own benefit as well to go there and to experience this, because it really made her, gave her part of her life that she has been missing. So she's kind of become whole because of the experience. But again, the ending of the film is very open to interpretation. I feel like, you definitely need to give it a few views and come to your own conclusion instead of having like someone try to tell you what they think it means, if that makes any sense. I feel like this is one of the movies, a type of movie that you want to bring your own background and your own viewpoints to it, and come to your own conclusion instead of hearing someone tell you, oh, well, this is what it means, because it's very possible that that's not what it means. I think it's our own experiences in life in terms of religion and just how what we've experienced based on that is going to let you come to your own conclusion. And I think that there's not really a right or wrong answer when it comes to this film.
Right, and for a video game translation, or for a cinematic translation of a video game franchise, I mean, the fact that we can even say that about this, that it can provoke that kind of thought, is really, I think, impressive. Buddy, I know you, as you said at the beginning, you've been visiting, or not revisiting, I'm sorry, but exploring the video game series of Silent Hill. And now knowing the games and this being a first time viewing the film, how did it sit with you, wrapping it up and coming to a conclusion with a full story? What are your thoughts on it?
So you sort of touched on it. I mean, like the fact that a video game movie is like bringing up all of these different interpretations, and it can be viewed in all these different kind of ways, is sort of like remarkable. And what makes the film good for being like probably one of the best video game adaptations of all time is that it manages to take what little source material it has and really like run with it. The ending of the game is extremely different than the ending we get in the film. In the game, the daughters, basically the dark one and the Cheryl character, Sharon, in this, they do come together at the end of the game, but it basically turns into a giant monster. You fight the monster, and then the game's done. It's not bringing part all of these issues, like, are they actually dead? What dimension are we in? Are they ghosts? Like, it's not bringing up any of these philosophical questions that's going to leave you with. And although the film does leave you with a lot of questions about what actually is going on, it does try to wrap it up and at least make sense in terms of the film. Because, I mean, we sort of brushed over this, but towards the end of the film, we are getting, like, tons and tons of exposition dumps. So at least as an audience, you're able to sort of piece together what's going on. Whatever that adds up to is up to your own interpretation, but it's not like it's leaving you with all these plot points that don't make a whole lot of sense.
Right. And with multiple viewings, I think you just, like we said a few times here, the more you view this, the more you can kind of piece the puzzle pieces together to form a stronger image of what the exact message of this film is. And Troy, you're right. This is a storyline that I think is meant to be interpreted by the viewer. I don't think there's a set in stone storyline. I think you can take it a lot of different ways, which I think is actually a sign of quality craftsmanship for this film to have that much depth to it. Troy, like, just in wrapping this up, for you being someone who does not know anything of the game franchise, at all, and as a first-time viewer of the film, what is your takeaway for you? I'm curious to hear, for someone who's never played the game, did this sit with you as a strong piece of cinema?
Yeah, absolutely. The first viewing, it could have been just my mind frame. It seemed to drag quite a bit for some reason, and again, it could have been the day I was having or something when I tried to watch it. Like I said, I was like, "Oh my god, this movie feels like it's going on forever," because there are some pointless scenes in it, especially the scene with the father. However, I did watch it a couple more times. I always try to watch the film more than once, and upon the second and third viewing, it really didn't feel as long. And there were definitely things that I picked up on that I didn't pick up upon the first viewing that made it a lot more interesting and gave it certainly a lot more layers to it. It's a visually stunning film. It competently made, pretty well acted. And again, I mean, the horror elements of the film are really effective. I can get why some people may not be a fan of the film because, like I said, there are elements of it that drag, and a lot of people may not be fans of the kind of ambiguous elements of the film. However, I mean, as a piece of filmmaking, as a piece of horror cinema, I think it's pretty effective, and it kind of does its job. I'm curious. I'd be curious to check out the video game now and kind of
Check out the
compare
video
it.
game, but whatever you do, Troy, do not ever check out the sequel, which is one of the worst films I've ever seen in my life. And I say that as a fan of this movie. I just act as it's a standalone movie. It doesn't have a sequel, in my opinion. The sequel is a whole lot of flaming bullshit, and I never want to see it again. But yeah, I mean, overall, in conclusion, that is our review of the 2006 cinematic adaptation of the video game Silent Hill. And Buddy, thank you so much for being here with us through this journey. I'm so happy that this is the film that you picked because you brought a ton of awesome knowledge of the game and of the production on the film as well. So that was really cool to have, and I'd expect nothing less from you being a fan of the genre.
Of course, thank you guys for having me on. It's always good talking to you, Roger. Troy, it's been nice getting to know you a little bit through this, and hopefully someday I can get you on my show.
Yeah, absolutely.
This will be the first of many. Hopefully, we can start doing some stuff. So
Yeah, and really quick before we let you go, one more time for the listeners, pump up your podcast, give them your all your social media, let them know where they can find you and check out your material.
So the main place right now is you can find all my social media is just at Buddy Candela, my Instagram, Twitter, all that kind of stuff. If you just search Buddy Candela on YouTube, that's going to give you access to all of the shows that I do. It all ends up on there. Of course, Buddy's House of Horror you can find on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever podcast streaming service you guys listen to, as well as YouTube. We'll call some people out if they're not leaving 5-star reviews for both of our shows after this one.
Yes.
And yeah, that's the main place to find me. Of course, I have links to all my stuff on my Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff, so you can find all the shows on whatever platform you consume content. So
Yeah, and guys, seriously, like I had a great interview with him a couple years back, but before that, I did a little deep dive on his material, and I want to encourage our listeners to check out Buddy's House of Horrors. It's chock full of information. It's not just reviews. It's actually like educated fanboy information. It's the kind of material we crave as fans of the genre, and it's absolutely worth it. And in regards to our next episode, I'm just going to put it out there right now because I know our fans are going to like lose their shit for several reasons. But we are finally going to have our next guest is one of the members of the Death Drop Gorgeous family. We've been wanting to get some of them on our show because we love this film. It is a queer horror film, LGBTQ, and proud of it. And it is just getting so much love and attention right now, as it rightfully deserves. So we're having the first of the crew on our show, and it is the studly, handsome Mike Joseph. He's such a stud muffin, but he's also a sweetheart. And he knows so much about the horror genre, and I let him also pick his movie because of that. I mean, they just made this kick-ass film, so I thought it only made sense to let us get into his mind of what kind of films he would want to dissect as a fan of the genre. I let him pick the movie, and he picked, honestly, one of my favorites, Troy. He picked the 2009 indie classic, iconic classic, in my opinion, House of the Devil. I love this movie. I love it so much. It's by Ty West. It stars the stunning Jocelyn Donahue, Tom Noonan, and Greta fucking Gerwig. So, like, I mean, in one of her earlier roles, I love her. So yeah, it's just such a great movie. And Troy, I know you love this one too.
I do. I'm excited. I'm gonna contain all of my excitement for the episode though. But yeah, I'm excited to have him on. They are really doing some great stuff. Their film is really taken off. It's been mentioned in the New York Times, on the cover of Rue Morgue magazine. They're getting tons of attention. So for us to have him on is kind of a big deal. So and talking about The House of the Devil by Ty West, who is personally one of my favorite indie horror film directors. I love his slow burn style. I'm a big fan of that. So super excited, guys. So the next episode, definitely tune in. But we do want to thank the equally studly Buddy for being our guest. And Studley. What did we do to get graced with two handsome men 2 weeks in a row?
Oh God, as we're sitting here aging with these two young, attractive men. But no, seriously, Buddy, thank you for taking this big chunk of time to sit with us and talk about this movie. And I hope you had a great time. We had a great time with you.
Oh yeah, it was a blast. Thank you guys for having me on. It was a great discussion. Hopefully, if we do this again, it's on a film that is a little bit more upbeat instead of Sean Bean wandering in the void for a while. But it was a great time, great discussion. Very happy to be talking to you guys, and once again, thanks for having me on.
Seriously, this was great, guys. Thank you so much, Buddy. Troy, I'll see you same time, same place next week.
Until next week. And remember those 5-star reviews, people. Come on.
Or else we're going to Tanya Harding your asses, so you better fucking get them going, okay?
All right. Talk to you later.
Bye.